You know, I used to smoke about 100 years ago when people did, you know, they had a drink in one hand and a cigarette in another hand. And it was kind of, I think, in a lot of ways, defenses, you know, that you had something to do.
Yes, actually, it's activity.
And a lot of people did it, so you fit in by doing it. Nowadays, of course, you might see the drink in the hand when you're out with others, but you don't so much see cigarettes anymore.
Yeah, well, I think of it as a prop. You know, so you know, now the cell phone is the prop, right? You always have a cell phone.
Right.
Now you have to work on the addiction of always being on your phone, right?
That's true. Actually, it is an addiction. I call it a life support.
Right,
that we all have this addiction to this life support.
Right. What do you think the positive intention of always being connected is? You know, what? You know.
I think that it becomes really habit. That it's like without it.
Well, we're doing well without our phones right now, right?
It's like I'm not part of the world. Whereas, I mean, when I was growing up, there were no cell phones. You know, we survived very well, but now everybody, they walk on the street, they text crossing the street, they talk on the bus, not caring.
So maybe it is about being completely absorbed, right? And absorbed and connected. And if you didn't do that, you might feel loss or something, right?
I don't have the answer to that. It's, you know, it's a great technology advancement. I think it's wonderful, but it's like anything else. It's too much.
Well, you know, when we were talking before, I said I have my mom is 86 and she's on the computer, and fortunately for her, her computer talks to her because, you know, she's almost blind. And I'll go visit her, and she'll still be on the computer, and I'll say, "Mom, I'm visiting you. You can do this later." So tearing away an 86-year-old from the computer, right?
Unbelievable.
Right.
So there you go. How do you deal with? I mean,
well,
things
first
that
of
are
all,
very
hardened
within somebody's.
Well, one
life.
thing is it a difficulty for me, or is it a difficulty for that person? You know, if that person's coming to me because they want to change, then I could start with. What's the positive intention? But if it's me complaining about somebody else, then we have to work with me finding a way to handle that, or be okay, or let go, or how do I communicate that, right? How do I find out, you know, what do I say to my mom? What's most important is that we're together. We're right? So what we call
quality
that,
time.
Right. So in NLP we call that criteria. So that we're saying togetherness is more important than you sitting on your computer not communicating with me. So I'm using her criteria, and I get her attention, right? If that wasn't important to her, that might not work. So sometimes in NLP we say, NLP is a communications technology between the two of us that works to influence thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So there are times that we're really working to figure out what will motivate this other person, what will get this other person to change, and you have to listen to their words.
Right. Absolutely.
That's part of it.
So the question is, how much, you know, we all open our mouths and talk, yet most people don't communicate. I think that part of NLP, which really is exquisite, is the awareness of really what communication is. It's not just talking, jabbering away. It's having an intention of what you want to say, getting the message across so that the other person gets it. I mean, I think there's so much more involved with communication than people think.
Well, I guess it would be, what do you really want to talk about? Some people say, oh, I'm not good at small talk, you know, and other people really just want to talk about sort of life. And so, you know, the question is, what's your outcome? Really, what, you know, here we are, we're going for information. We're doing our best to try to see if we can explain NLP, get people to be curious about the NLP Center, or, you know, look us up on the web. But when you're just hanging out with a friend, you know, there's different outcomes, right?
Right. I mean, if you're hanging out with a friend, you're just talking. Sometimes there is agendas, you know, that you might want to get across, or it depends on what type of conversation you're having
Well,
with a friend.
I know the typical conversation, let's say between two spouses, you know, partners in life, is that there's one who usually says, "You're giving me too much detail."
Right.
I don't.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't.
my husband. Too much. You know, chunk down. I say chunk up a little bit. And I think that came from NLP.
Yeah, we do. We talk about, you know, either
I
very
use that,
the
actually.
minute or
Right,
the large.
exactly.
And, you know, somebody typically in the couple is saying, why are you asking me all these questions?
Yeah.
I just want to know something very general. Why do you have to tell me everything about your day?
Right.
You know, and I was
Right.
like, I love telling you about my day.
Yeah, right.
You know, I want to tell you what I ate and, you know,
well,
right? Well,
okay.
not how many times I
yeah,
chewed, but, you know.
yeah, right. So there's that, chunking up and chunking down,
Yeah.
which I use. So
Yeah.
those, you know.
Well, the idea is, you know, what's the category? You know, what is the category that you're talking about? Are you talking
Right.
about how is your day? And
Right.
somebody will say, my day was fine.
Right.
That's just one level, right? What specifically about your day was fine? How was your interview with Rachel, right? You know, so
Well,
asking those questions or getting detail. But when you talk about communication, you really want to think, I think mostly also about listening.
Right.
Right? You know, it's not
Exactly.
just the
Exactly.
putting out.
Yes.
It's what do you actually hear? And, you know, a lot of times people say, oh, so-and-so doesn't listen to me. And I wonder, one is, do they mean they don't obey you? You know, do they don't listen? Or one is that they just didn't get it.
Right.
And so I think in an NLP training, you learn how to really get it, not obey.
Right.
But you at least get to say, oh, that's what you mean by team. Oh, that's what you mean by soon.
Exactly.
Right? That's what you
Exactly.
mean by your day. Oh, okay, I get it now.
And how many people really listen? You know, when people have, I mean, as a coach, and you certainly, I'm trained to listen. There can't be anything going on in between the ears. There just has to be blank. But most people have that chatter going on. You know, if I were to be with a client, think about, well, it's my grocery list, you know, I get do this or do that. I'm not listening to a word they're saying.
Well, that's a practice skill, I'd say.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's true.
One of the things that we practice in NLP, and I think you could do this in a lot of communication classes, is because it's known as paraphrasing, right?
Exactly.
But you know, we would call it backtracking, and you are able to listen to the person and then give back the essence.
Exactly.
You know, and some people will say, "Oh, you just said what I just said," but really, what I'm doing is I'm giving the essence of what you just said to see if I understand. And one time I was recently interviewed, and I was watching the CD, and the interviewer actually misbacktracked me. But that was fine because then I could clarify.
Right, exactly.
It's not the worst thing. Like you can't be perfect. We're human, right? So,
exactly.
but to recognize when you don't get it, to say, well, explain it again.
Yes, exactly. And you know, again, if clients say something, I'll say, so let me reiterate what you've said, so that we're both hearing the same thing.
Right.
Or, you know, okay, here's what I'm hearing. Does that land? Is that accurate?
Right.
So we always know we're on the same page.
Well, we're speaking the same language. We're speaking English right now, but you could be speaking French and Russian and Chinese. And, you know, it's all. It doesn't matter. And then you say, but it's a wonder that we are communicating, because we each have our own neurology.
Exactly.
Right. Our own. Another way to think about NLP is it's the study of our subjective experience. So my subjective experience is coming here from me, what I see through my eyes and what I hear, and from you. So it's a wonder that we communicate at all.
Well,
right?
I say perspective. So you're coming from yours based on your whole NLP, your whole neuro-linguistic, or your neurology, and how you've processed things throughout your life. And then there's me coming with my own set of whatever's processing through my life, and here we are having a conversation.
And I think many people will relate to the idea of stepping into somebody else's shoes. That a lot of times that's what we try to teach people, is to imagine what would it be like to be in your experience as best as possible. It's impossible, but as close as possible. Could I, get behind you and see through your own eyes, and when you're talking to a client or you're talking to a friend, and what is that like for you, so that we can understand from that person's point of view.
What is that, an exercise that you use?
There is an exercise.
Does it have a name?
Well, there's a technique called aligning perceptual positions, and it's really good for boundaries. A lot of times I'll get clients who will say, I just spoke to my mother or father, even if their mother or father was in another country, but I feel like they're right here. And they kind of like, oh, they got to me, they push some buttons. So the aligning perceptual positions is about, let's really make sure you're over here, your parent or whoever it is, your boss, it could be, your friend is over there, and even take on what we would call an observer position, right?
Exactly.
Have somebody over here watching, and go through the observer position, go through your own position, but then take a moment and be in the other position. What's it like to be that parent looking at you, or that friend, or that boss? What do they see? And that's very revealing a lot of times, how you are seen from the other person's point of view. So the exercise has many dimensions. But you can always break down, it might sound complicated, but you in those 144 hours, you could take a lot of things and then just take one little thing, like rapport. Like we're sitting here, we can be mirroring each other, we could be, finding, going in the same tempo. Just that would be an exercise, right? Yeah.
So we have about 2 minutes left.
Okay, wow.
Wow, went quickly.
Yeah, fast.
What would you like to give the website?
Yeah,
Please.
I'd love for people to visit nlptraining.com to see, we have free previews about our NLP training. We also do Ericksonian hypnosis, and I think a lot of people would really enjoy learning how to do self-hypnosis, so that's another piece about NLP. So yeah, nlptraining.com, and let me know if you saw me on the show.
Oh, great. Well, Rachel, I want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Coming. We still have a couple of seconds, but I don't want to leave without saying thank you so much for coming. And also, she'll be at our ICF members meeting on Wednesday night, so if you are available, there's the website. Come and visit.
Okay, thanks.
And we've got another second or two. I always do this. I always kind of start to plan early.
Well,
I
hope
we get another second.
I hope as a closing, people really think about their style of communication and what they do and how they come across, what kind of results they're getting with their communication. If it's working, that's great. Then be conscious of what you're doing that's making it work. If it's not working, then you may want to become conscious of what's not working.
Thank you.